gentlemen, Bob Kostichan. Good morning. Thank you for coming out on a nice day where I know you could be doing a whole lot of nicer things. I first discovered Avast back in 2003 when I was looking for something to replace Norton, which at that time was using more of my computer than I was. After doing some searching, trial and error, I found Avast, installed it, and it's been on my system ever since. It's very light on system resources and has done an excellent job over the years in keeping my computer safe. In 2004, I had a question to ask, and I knew that they had a support forum. So I signed out, asked my question, and within a short period of time received a friendly and correct answer, which prompted me to become a part of their support forum. I'm still very busy on that support forum. Anytime I'm not out in front of an audience like this, trying to talk somebody into converting to Avast, I'm busy helping people who have computer problems. On that forum, we not only answer questions about viruses or about Avast itself, but any general computer question. Some of the questions we receive have absolutely nothing to do with computers. If they're within reason, we will still make an attempt to answer them. When I first signed up, I tried signing in just as Bob. Didn't work, too many Bobs in this world. I tried Bob G, that still wasn't good enough, and then I settled on Bob 3160. March 1st of 1960 is when my wife Alice and I got married. That gave me a username that was easy to remember, and it certainly gave me every reason to never forget my anniversary date. The last 2 years, I have not been home for my anniversary. I was there for the big 5-0, but last year I was in Florida, and this year I'm enjoying your great weather. Thank you. I may have missed an anniversary, but I certainly had some nice weather to contend with. It's nice not to have to wear a jacket. If you ever go to that forum, and if you have a question, remember, they're there to help you. And they're all not employees of Avast. We're all simply users of the product. Although you do have the developers and quite a few of the employees of Avast who monitor the forum, and if need be, they just simply jump in. Before we start the actual presentation, a couple of things I want to cover. First and foremost, no antivirus program, Avast or anyone else's, will ever protect your computer or mine 100%. Since the virus always comes first, and the protection against that virus doesn't happen until the guys in the virus lab figure out what makes this thing tick, and are able to send you a virus signature for it, we are all at risk at running into a brand new virus. So none of us are ever 100% covered. Since that false step can always happen to any of us, we should all be making regular image backups. Without an image backup, you're looking and waiting for a disaster to happen. If you get in the habit of making regular backups, then an infection or a hard drive crash, which can also happen, becomes an annoyance, not a major catastrophe. Okay, so that's one very important thing we should all get into the habit of doing. If you're using Windows 7, you already have a program built right into the operating system that does an excellent and accurate and reliable image backup. What you need to do the image backup is some external hard drive. I personally use a 1 terabyte USB external hard drive, and it's got enough room in it to constantly do backups of my entire network. You may not need anything that big, and if it's smaller, the price is going to come down. But even as big as the one that I use, you're still talking less than $100 for that unit. You should also be using an external or a software firewall. The firewall that comes with your router protects everything that comes to your computer. It does nothing to protect outgoing data. And if you do any kind of banking or shopping or have any other pertinent information that you'd like to make sure gets from your computer to where it's supposed to go safely, then you should have a software firewall. Our free antivirus does not come with a firewall. There are many free ones available. Komodo is one, PC Tools Pro is another one. There are many others. You just need to do a search. If you don't want to be bothered and do searches, then you can buy our Internet Suite. That one is not free, but that contains a firewall and many, many other goodies. The difference between our antivirus, the free and the paid-for versions, is not in the protection that it affords you against viruses, rootkits, so on and so forth, but in the add-ons. I use the free version. That's all I've ever used, and I supplement it with other free programs. Call me a cheapskate. It's all right. Should also never run more than one free antivirus program at a time. More is not better. If you force a second antivirus program on your system, and then now you pretty much have to force it because all of them will tell you you already have protection, get rid of it before you install something new. But if you force it on your system, then sooner or later both antivirus programs will try to analyze the same program at the same time. They will then own your computer. And until you pull the plug and come back from a cold boot, you won't be able to access that computer at all. And if you push the right buttons, it even works. There are currently 2.1 billion internet users globally, 272 million just here in the US. Of course, with the increased use of computers, you also have increased dangers that you run into. There are currently more private internet users and computer owners than there are corporate. The private sector grows at double-digit rates every year, and the corporate sector only grows at a single-digit rate. We used to do nothing but play games on our computers. It was a fancy typewriter. Then we learned it could do emails. Now we do a whole bunch more besides just that function. In the old days, a virus was a prank. It was nice to be able to turn down somebody's computer when they were in the middle of playing a game. That was considered fun. Now it's run by cyber criminals, and the only thing they are after is your money, nothing else. We all heard of the term phishing, and I don't mean where you go out and catch something that you're going to put in your frying pan. Phishing is a socially engineered attempt at stealing your personal data, your passwords for your banking accounts, your credit card information, and it's done by attempting to send you an email that looks like it comes from a reliable source, like your bank, your internet service provider, your credit card company. It's not coming from them at all, because none of them would ever contact you for information using email. Okay? If you get one of those, and we'll see an example of it later on, Just simply get away from it. Farming has nothing to do with growing crops. It's a method of trying to redirect traffic from a legitimate site to a hacked site. So we're harvesting internet traffic. 85% of all your infections come directly from the internet. The other 15% are made up of removable media, instant messaging, personal file sharing, and of course your emails. Which means if you never go on the internet, never insert a USB or any other media into your computer, you're going to be pretty darn safe. You don't really need protection. You also don't need a computer. 6 out of every 10 infected sites are legitimate websites, not sites written to protect you, but sites that have become infected. Only 1% of those sites are the adult or porn sites. They've got other ways of infecting you. That's me over there first thing in the morning trying to get on that internet. Your infections now come through scripts, iframes, meta tags. And since they introduced Web 2, that's the one that has the videos on it, all the ads on it. Those are just other vehicles that are easily infected or trying to reinfect you by redirecting you to somewhere else. We're all familiar with .com, .net, .org, .gov. They now threw something else into the mix. These are country designations. RU is Russia, FR is France, UK, Great Britain. Anybody know what this one is? Czech Republic, right. What's it famous for besides beer? No, that was in the old days. Now all the techies are over there. It's famous for both AVG and Avast. They're neighbors, and on occasion even friends. But only on occasion. They are, after all, competitors. Small, legitimate websites, when they become infected, usually become infected for a long period of time. And if you infect enough of those sites, you'll get enough people to click on those infected links to make it profitable. Large corporate sites very seldom become infected, but if they do, it takes only a very short period of time to infect a great number of people. Infected webs come in all different categories. There is no way by just looking at a site to tell whether it's an infected site or whether it's clean, which means there's no such thing anymore as safe surfing. Since you can't tell which site's infected and which one isn't, in the old days we pretty much knew certain sites you stayed away from and you were pretty safe. Now that no longer holds any water. The next few slides are all legitimate sites, but they've been infected. This one here is special from all the others. It's infected, part of it, with an HTML iframe infection. But the guy was a sport about it. He gave you a chance to come here, go and shop for a skateboard, purchase it, and come away totally clean. Unless you happen to like that color. If you picked that one, you got redirected to an infection which was downloaded to your computer, executed, and your system became infected. I told you he was pretty good. I mean, 1 out of 4, that's not bad. He's one of the good guys. Another HTML iframe infection. This one led you to something that looked like a blank page. It wasn't. That was the actual infection being downloaded to your computer. If you didn't have proper protection, you would not have enjoyed that beer chaser, guaranteed. Also gives you a chance of what happens if you have proper protection. In this case, you were blocked, the rootkit never made it to your system, and it was perfectly safe. That was Avast busy at work doing its job. Even kid sites aren't safe. They're hoping that you will assume that because this is a child's directed at children, it ought to be a good, clean, wholesome site. Unfortunately, if that's how you assume the web works, then the crooks will get very rich and you will become very poor. No site is safe. No site is excluded from possible infections. Little Johnny goes on there, he likes this particular toy, he would like to buy something, and he says, "Mommy, can I have that?" And Mommy says, "Sure, just click it." And as soon as you do, that's when the redirection happens. What they like to do now is they don't make your computer crash. They encrypt your data. And then after the infections hit your system, when you go to look at your pictures or open one of your documents or an email, something will pop up and say, "You want to see this? Fine, send me some money, and I'll send you the key to unlock the data because I've encrypted all of it." Okay, plain and simple. If you're lucky and you send them the money, you might get a key to unlock it. Most of the time, they'll have your money and you still have no data. Another great example of why you should be making regular image backups. I'm going to harp on that until it sinks in. By the way, that first screen that you got to look at for a long period of time, there'll be a quiz on that at the end of this program. These are the only sites where you actually decide by going there and acting on what they offer to infect your computer. Most things that you get here, supposedly for nothing, come preloaded with an infection. And usually the removal of that infection is going to cost you more than if you had purchased the program or the movie or whatever you downloaded from here in the first place. So the best thing to do is just not go there. If you don't go there, you can't get infected from there. Okay? The only sites where you actually have a choice. You never had to go to one of these sites. The others, you're still all at risk. Remember, somebody is always the first person to run into something brand new. Here, you know as soon as you go there, you're probably going to get your system infected. Google search engine results quite often become infected through redirection. This particular one, they searched for Clooney and Oscar. This came up to the top of the heap, and we all like to pick what's at the top. In Google, if you do a search, I don't care what the subject is, and you see the pop-up, they always have that little blurb that they give you with the information, and you have to click on it to get the rest of the information. If you're satisfied and what you're looking for is within this initial blurb that's put up there, you're perfectly safe. Infection never gets to you through this screen. Doesn't happen until you click to get more information. In this case, once they clicked on it, within a few seconds, this popped up, which looks like an antivirus program. Looks like Microsoft Security Essentials, busy cleaning your system, and within a couple of seconds it tells you it found a couple of 100 infections. It's called scareware. It's trying to get you to believe that these are actual infections. They aren't. This isn't even a virus program. It's an animation just like the one I showed you in the beginning with me busy trying to get on the internet. Okay, all it is an animation. It's a GIF file, an animated GIF file. First of all, if you have an antivirus program on your computer, and you all should, and it's up to date, and if you've ever tried doing a scan of your system, you'll know that it doesn't take seconds to discover anything. It usually takes quite a bit of time. So how can this thing, which I didn't ask for, pop up and tell me within seconds I have hundreds of infections? That should send off bells and whistles in your head. If it doesn't, that's what they're hoping for. You got scared, you're going to act on this. And if you act on it and you click on that, then it'll come back and it will tell you, in order to clean up the infections we found, you need to download this removal tool. Well, that's the infection now being sent to your computer, and you invited it in. Okay? Then, to add insult to injury, when it gets finished, it tells you, okay, we've cleaned up your computer of these non-existent infections. Now we need you to download this virus program, this antivirus program, which we recommend, and it will keep your computer safe. It isn't an antivirus program, it's another infection. Again, you're the one that's going to invite that crook into your house, okay? If it looks too good to be true, if it's something you didn't expect and didn't ask for, don't let it on your computer. By the way, clicking on the X or this X doesn't get you out of there. It actually is the same as if you clicked on Clean My Computer. Same thing. Any place on there that you click will start that thing doing what you don't want it to do. The only way you can get out of here, pull the plug to the internet. And now you can do whatever you want to get rid of it because it can't communicate with the crook. Okay? As soon as you get off the internet, you're safe. Because all of this has to be downloaded from the internet. If you're not connected, you can't get the infection. If you click anywhere on here, it will be downloaded and installed on your computer. Methods used to protect you against infections. Virus signatures take the least amount of room on your system, use the least amount of resources, but are very specific. You need one virus signature for each virus that you're protected against, including variants of the same virus. They each require a new signature. Heuristics analyzes a program to see whether or not that program looks like a virus or acts like a virus, and if it does, it'll be blocked. Behavioral analysis goes one step further and actually analyzes how this new thing that's being introduced reacts with the rest of your operating system. What's added, subtracted, deleted, what gets added, subtracted, deleted, or changed in the registry. And if any of that looks like or smells like a virus, it will be blocked. Which is great because it can block brand new viruses for which you don't yet have a signature. It's not so good because some of the utilities that you download happen to act just like a virus. They're perfectly safe, but if there's an exception for them, they'll be blocked and you'll have to wait until that exception is written. So they're more prone to false positives. False positive meaning it's not really a virus, but it sure looks like one, so it's safer to block it than allow it to run. Cloud-based antivirus is good, especially if you have a challenged computer. One that doesn't have a whole lot of RAM, doesn't have a whole lot of hard drive space. Maybe you're still running an old Windows 95 or a very basic XP. In the cloud environment, a very small portion of that program is on your system. Everything else happens in the cloud or at the server of the company that's providing the service. So if something needs to be analyzed, it comes from your computer, is CRC encrypted, shipped to the cloud, where it gets unencrypted, analyzed, it's clean, re-encrypted, sent back to you, and your system unencrypts it and then gets to use it. Basically, the only smart part that your computer does is encrypt and unencrypt. That's about it. Everything else is done at the server. One other good thing about it is, since you're going to the server, which receives all input from all over the place and is always up to date, it's not waiting for updates to be shipped to it, it has the latest information. So the analysis is done with as much information as that company will ever have. It's not waiting for updates, okay? We use a combination of virus signatures, heuristics, behavioral analysis, some cloud, and something we call Community IQ. When I first installed Avast, I told Avast that if I'm the first person to run into a brand new virus, the information that infected my computer is to be passed back on to the virus lab. That way they can write a signature and pass it on to the rest of the community. Nothing they can do for me because I was the first poor sucker to run into a new virus. Okay? But it helps the rest of the community. You do have a choice. You can unclick the box and say, I don't want to be part of the community. It means somebody else will have to run into that virus before the rest of us become immune against it. With version 7, there's no more waiting for 4 hours for an update. If you're connected to the internet, you have push or streaming updates. In other words, the second that that update is available, it's piped right to your computer. And as far as I know, we are the only company that does that for those that use a free antivirus. 50,000 virus signatures are added every single day, and that's just for those that use the Avast community. 5 million reported infected domains within the past 12 months. Again, just our community. Industry-wide, 1 billion virus reports are received every single month. Which is why you'll never get rid of these crooks. There's too many of them and not enough cops. And the worse the economy gets, the more lucrative a business this becomes. We're all looking to get something cheaper, and they know it. And for them, if they don't have any other work, well, yeah, they get to stay home, they never get their fingers dirty. As long as they have the smarts to be able to write these infections, they're making a pretty good living. Whoop, back up one, thank you. This one's got a sound file with it. It's actually an animation that shows you how you help Avast and how this update occurs and gets back to you.
This is a typical virus analyst, finding and analyzing e-computer viruses. And you need hundreds of them in a normal virus lab. At Avast, we do it differently. Imagine this lab is you, an Avast user, surrounded by the darkness of cyberspace. When your Avast sees something suspicious, it catches it, gotcha, and sends the little intruder automatically and anonymously to our virus lab to be analyzed. Every day we receive about 50,000 samples that are examined by our systems. Whatever gets confirmed as a virus goes into an update that is sent automatically to all Avast users.
Avast virus database has been updated. Avast virus database has been updated.
And because we have hundreds of millions of users, we quite don't need hundreds of analysts to keep you protected. Avast, be free.
One place I would not want to work is in a virus lab. 99.5% of all of these things are totally automatic. It's a computer that does the analysis and determines whether we got a real virus or not. It's only once in a while that they actually have to get down to the ones and zeros and determine what makes the virus tick. And also to give you a little bit as far as what the community does for Avast. Kaspersky has 500 analysts working in their virus lab. We have 160 million users, and we have 50 analysts working in our virus lab. Because Kaspersky has to literally go out and find these new viruses. We don't, because our community, the second they run into one, passes what infected them back to the virus lab. They don't have to go looking. It's being pushed at them so they can push the protection out to everybody else. But not too long ago, Symantec made a blanket statement that said if you're using a free antivirus, you're not as well protected than if you use a paid. She never checked actual statistics. Orange is us, gray is Symantec, or Norton, whatever you want to call it. And if you look at the chart, and this is not our statistics, these were prepared by BB100, which is an independent lab that measures just how effectively security companies protect their customers. We do a better job on on-demand detection. We have to do a better job at catching brand new viruses. We test that information much quicker when you're out on the internet before you get to use a site that's already been checked for infections. And most importantly to me, which is why I changed way back when from Norton to Avast, is how much of your system is being used by my antivirus program. Okay? The less that program uses, the more I have available for me to do what I want to do with my computer. The more of the system resources, RAM, so on and so forth, the program uses, the less is available to me. Simple math. You only have 100%. If it uses 50, you get to use the other 50. If it uses 80% of your computer, you only have 20% available. So the less the program uses to keep you safe, the more actual work you can do. This site was rightfully detected by both AVG and Avast as infected, and our two big boys, the ones you can't get for free, told you it was a perfectly safe site and allowed their customers to go visit it. Different site, same date, same result. Again, AVG and Avast blocked their customers from going to that site. And Symantec and McAfee told their customers it's perfectly safe. They told them it was perfectly safe because they didn't know it was infected. And if they don't know that it's infected and they allow you to go visit it, you will become infected. Symantec no longer makes that statement. They retracted the statement because there really isn't any difference between free and paid except who keeps the money. In the free version, we keep our money. In the paid version of anybody's product, they make the money. So, as of June 2010, Avast protected 51% of all those that use a free antivirus program worldwide. Here in the US, AVG is still the largest protector of those that use a free antivirus. Problem is, right now, if you wanted to get the free version of AVG, unless you're a very good detective, 15 days after you downloaded what you thought was the free version, you'll get a pop-up and tells you it's time to pay. Because you didn't get the free, you got the internet suite. We don't play that game. If you want our free version, go to the website, download it, ask for the free. We will ask you one question. Are you sure you really want the free version? That's the question you get asked. That's in case those that wanted the paid version happen to make a mistake and pick the free. Once you say yes, then that's what you'll get is the free. There are between 3 and 15% of all those that start with the free version that somewhere along the line will pick one of the paid versions. There are always some people who it's impossible to convince them that something free could protect you just as well as something you pay money for. So they will always wind up going for the paid version, okay? Now, free has been protecting me since 2003, so I guess it must be just about as good as the paid version. Except I have kept a lot more of my money in my pocket. Back to being the cheapskate. Some of the reasons for conversion is simple. If you don't want to go out and start to find all those extras that you need to add in order to make it the same as the Internet Suite, then you pay whatever it costs and you use it all in one program. And a lot of people will do exactly that. And there are an awful lot of goodies that are added to the paid versions. This is version 7 of Avast compared to Avira, Microsoft Security Essentials, and AVG. You notice the first two aren't available at all in the free versions from AVG or Avira. Microsoft Security Essentials doesn't yet have it. They update your program once per day. We, at a minimum, update you every 4 hours, and if there's an outbreak, if you're online, it'll be pushed to you immediately. They don't have that. They don't do that in the free version. What we don't do in the free version, no anti-phishing. If your email is fully checked against viruses, rootkits, any of that stuff, but not spam. If you want a spam blocker, either get a free one or buy a paid product. We give you sandboxing in the free version, but you don't control it, the program does. It determines what should be run sandboxed. You don't. In the paid versions, you do a right click on any program that you're not sure about and say, run this thing sandboxed, so I know before I actually run it whether it's 100% safe or not. Okay? That you can only do in a paid version. What we do give you is a boot time scanner, and this is for all versions. It doesn't matter because it's the same engine. Boot time scan is capable of checking your files before the operating system starts. So it's able to check many more files once the operating system starts. There are many files your system can't access because they're being used by the system. I personally only do my scan, regular scan, once every time a new version of Avast comes out. I did one when version 6 came out, and I did a boot time scan. After that, anything new, anything changed, automatically gets checked anyway. So if I checked as many files as I possibly could at one point, and then anything added automatically gets checked, why am I still running scan after scan after scan? If it makes you feel good, please do that. They are all included in the program. You can set it up for every single week or whatever your pleasure is to have the system scanned. I do it once, get a hold of as many files as I can through the boot, and after that I let the system take care of automatically checking anything new or changed. Also have a gaming mode, which means if you like to play games and don't want to be bothered by update noises or update reminders or possible infections that have nothing to do with the program you're actually playing, you choose the silent gaming mode. The only thing we would ever interrupt you for is if the game you intend to play is a virus. That we won't allow. Find something else. But outside of that, everything else happens in the background. No interruptions for anything. Play your game, enjoy it. We also check all of your social functions. So if you're busy on Facebook or any of the other social networks, everything there is being checked. If you're doing file exchanges between friends, that's being checked. Nothing gets into your system without first being checked. Go to a website. Before you get to go to the website, that site's already been checked for viruses. Any questions on any of this? Some of our websites, only two important ones to me. One of them is the main website where you get the program, and the second one is the forum where if you need some help, many of us are there, ready, willing, and able to help you 24/7, because the guys on there are from all over the world. It's one of the things that gives us a local flavor, even though the company itself is in the Czech Republic. I don't speak any Czech at all. I visited the country twice, and hopefully we'll get to go back there again, because they're very nice, very friendly. They happen to like tourists. Some of the countries in Europe wish you would stay home, and they treat you that way. How many of you use Facebook or one of the other social networks? Okay, those are the ones that are willing to admit it, and for you and everybody else, a couple of safety features or a couple of safety tips. You should all be using a strong password, and a strong password is made up of a combination of small letters, capital letters, numbers, and symbols. Should be between 6 and 10 characters in length. And if you make up one of these strong passwords, write it down on a sticky note and attach it to your refrigerator. Now when you go on the internet and you need to use this password, if you get to that site, you won't be scratching your head trying to figure out, what was this thing that I made up? Now I can't remember it. Now what do I do? Well, it's on your refrigerator. The reason for attaching it to your refrigerator, the crook in cyberspace is going to get, sometime or later, going to get to your computer, not likely to get to your refrigerator. Although I have it on pretty good sources, smart refrigerators are only right around the corner. They're going to know what's in your refrigerator, what you've used, and where to go shopping for it and get the best prices. That's what I've been told. It's coming. Right now, it's still a safe place. You should manage your privacy settings. The default settings on any of these networks isn't there for your protection. It's there for them to make the most money that they can out of those settings. So go in there, look at what they are, and only check those things which you're comfortable in sharing with everyone. If you aren't sure, uncheck it. Before you post anything on any of these networks, whether it be text, video, your cam, make sure you're willing to share that with the entire world. Ask ex-Congressman Wiener. He thought he was on a private chat. No such thing as privacy on the internet. The only way you're going to have anonymity is to never go on the internet. Once you visited the internet, there's many, many things that everybody, if they wanted to, can find out about you, okay? If you have something to hide, don't ever go on the internet. That's why I said never post anything that could come back later to haunt you. And I don't understand why our politicians, and there have been so many of them, are so stupid that they can't figure out the most basic. Third-party applications. If you install any of those into Facebook, you're greeted with a little disclosure. And it basically says, anything you know and anything that you're sharing with your friends, you're now sharing with me. And I have full access to all of that. That's in basic language what that disclosure tells you. Okay? Now, if you're willing to share those things with a perfect stranger, be my guest. I won't. The only add-ons that I ever allow, if I think they're worthwhile, come directly from the company whose program I'm using. If it's coming from Facebook, I already told Facebook anything I got is yours. So why would I not add something else that they want to give me that I think is going to be something that's going to help or increase my enjoyment of the program, but not from anybody else. I don't accept hugs, and I don't accept kisses. I wait till I get home, collect them in person. It's a lot more fun. How many of you install new programs on your computer? If you don't, why are you using a computer? It's the programs that make your computer enjoyable. Without programs, there's no enjoyment to a computer. It's just a box. Some new things we should all get used to doing before we install a new program, especially one that was recommended by a friend who says this is great and you will enjoy it. You should always create a system restore point. If you don't, and you install a program, and then find out afterwards it's a piece of trash, and then find out even worse, there's no removal tool for it, it won't work to add remove. If you had a system restore point, you just restore it to that point, and that program would be gone. Without it, hopefully there's an image backup. I keep coming back to that, don't I? But that's the only way you're going to eliminate that program, unless you're an expert and you have a way of actually removing all of it, including going into the registry and cleaning out all those keys. When you install a program, you're always given two options: the default install method, the quick way, or the custom or advanced method. We should all get in the habit of always picking the custom installation. Even if you make no changes in what they recommend, you at least know what they are installing. If you take the default, you're happy with whatever they want to push down your throat. Plain and simple. You should certainly never allow them to install a third-party toolbar. Unless you like a lot of spam, that's okay, then install that toolbar. And when you start getting invaded with all the spam, you wonder where it came from. One more thing at the end, especially if it's adding things to the registry, they will ask you to reboot your system. Or you can reboot it later for yourself. Always select the restart later option. Some programs have now gotten so sophisticated, there's one more screen you never get to see if you choose the Start Now button. If you choose the Start Later button, then it reveals this next screen, which is going to add some more information or programs or toolbars to your system unless you uncheck the boxes. But you don't get to see those boxes because you selected the Restart Now button. Okay? It's something that's new, a habit that we have to get into. I found it's just as easy to learn good habits as it is to learn bad habits. It's just a matter of repetition. So if you start doing this on a regular basis, sooner or later it becomes the norm. Some programs, like Avast, require a reboot of your system because they add so many things to the registry that without that, the program is not yet fully functional. It may sit there, it may tell you it's there, but it's not fully functional until you rebooted your system. I would still choose the Restart Later option and then restart it myself. I told you I was going to give you an example of a phishing attempt. My internet service provider, my internet service provider is Comcast. And this came in the mail to me a couple of weeks ago. And at first glance, it does say Comcast, that's their logo. That's their phone number and their website. If you went here, you would wind up at their website. But if you look at it closely, it doesn't come from payment@comcast.net. It comes from paywment@comcast.net. That's a private email address at comcast.net. It's the same as bob3160@comcast.net. Okay? And it wasn't a typing error. This was actually sent out by somebody who wanted you to think it came from something official at Comcast, but it's actually going to a private email address. This hidden link over here that says review your payment, if you hover your mouse on top of this, which is exactly what I did before I took the screenshot, bottom left-hand corner will always reveal where that link goes. And even if you're half blind, you can tell this doesn't go to Comcast. It's a Google shortened URL that leads to a site when it was still allowed to be visited that starts asking you all kinds of questions. Again, it appears to be Comcast. It wants your name, address, phone number, social security number, credit card number, so on and so forth. And if you've got fooled into delivering that information to that person who's fishing for it, that's why it's called a phishing example, they will now be busy cleaning out filling up your credit card, and the next time you go there, or you'll start getting phone calls because somebody someplace is using your credit card, right? But you gave them all the information. So be careful. Again, if you didn't expect it, you aren't aware of it, and it looks like something's not totally right. First of all, no legitimate company will ever ask you to supply it with information within an email or an unsecure website that you can verify as theirs. Since I use the free version, there are some other free programs that I recommend that supplement the parts of the free version. One of them is Malwarebytes. We protect you against viruses, rootkits, so on and so forth. You don't need to write anything down because I'll be sending out an email which will be passed on to you that has all the information in it. Malwarebytes cleans up malware. It's a free program. You need to download it, install it, and run it in order for it to do you any good. Once you run it, the first thing you should be doing is updating its database and then run the scan. First time do a full scan, after that do the quick scan. The other program, CCleaner, originally it was called Crap Cleaner. Cleans up all the garbage left behind when you go on the internet or when you use any of the programs. The one program not listed on here is called CCleaner Enhancer. It adds another 500 programs to CCleaner's ability of cleaning up the garbage. Now, it only cleans it up for those programs that are actually on your computer. Last but not least, Wind Patrol. And Wind Patrol is a monitoring program. It monitors your system for changes. If you just install the program and it pops up and says so-and-so wants to run, the answer is yes, I just installed it. If you haven't installed anything, changed anything, and it pops up and says something wants to run, use your search engine, search for what it says wants to run, and look at those results. If number one tells you that this is a great program and we should all be using it, and the other 14 tell you it's a piece of garbage, believe the 14. Don't allow it to run. Number one is probably the person that wrote the garbage, and the 14 others are those that got stuck winding up with having to run the program, and they now are willing to tell you it's garbage. Brand new, if you have the Android operating system for either your cell phone or your tablet, and this one doesn't come in a Pro or an Internet Suite, it only comes one way, totally free. Reason you should be using it, here's a comparison of, first one is us, and then all the others that are available, from free all the way up to $30 a year. The only thing we don't do for you is back up your contacts. And the reason for that is very simple. If you have an Android cell phone, it does it for you automatically. So why would we be doing it? It has a nice feature in it called an Antitheft feature. So if somebody steals your nice new phone, you can, once it's set up, go to any place on the internet, wipe out all the information on that phone, and make it totally useless, so that you will have passed along a piece of trash or a paperweight, but not your cell phone, okay? One thing that you do with that particular one, a crook will always go in first and look for anything you have in the way of security and make it probably uninstall it. The module that protects you against anti-theft is something you have to name. You have to give it a name that means something to you and means nothing to the crook. So if you call it Antilli, you'll know Antilli is protecting you against theft. The crook will never figure out that that's a module he should have removed, but of course won't because it's meaningless to them. If you enjoyed the program, please let Avast know about it. If you didn't, it's okay to tell them that too. If you know of any other clubs that might find this thing helpful, please contact me directly. Thank you very much for having me.